Eleanor, where are we standing today?
Well, we're standing right in the road that led down to the store and the post office, and the gas pump was there.
And what was this site called?
Fayette.
And when was Fayette founded?
Oh, gee. Early 1900s, I think.
And
Because it was going strong when I was born in 32.
And would you come to town often when you were young?
Well, yeah, Mom and Dad did pretty much every week, get groceries and brought the eggs and the cream, sold it, and bought the groceries. Filled gas.
And what are the buildings behind us here?
Well, this one is the chicken coop. And the other lean shed over there had a well in it. There's water there. And that mound there is where the store was.
When did that get taken down?
I would say, well, it collapsed really. It wasn't taken down.
Oh, okay.
It collapsed. And I would say probably 70s, somewhere there.
And how has this site changed from the time when you remember it?
Very much. There's not much left. There was a big red barn. It was beautiful. I always admired it. It was a nice big building. And I don't know if it collapsed or if it got torn down or moved away or whatever.
And how many people would usually be here in town?
Well, really not too many at one time. If there was 5 or 6, maybe sometimes nobody except, us, whatever. It
Do you remember,
wasn't that, like crowds here, usually not.
Do you remember the people that used to live here in town?
Oh, yes.
Can you tell us who they were?
Frank and Anna Little. And they had a daughter that I never knew her. She died as a young girl. And she was buried over there beside the house somewhere. And then they had a lady working for them, Anna Fisher. And she was here, well, I left here in 53, and she was here for at least, I'd say 15 years after that yet, and ran the store and post office. And so on.
And were you good friends with the Littles?
I was quite young when they were here. I can kind of picture them. Anyway, Mrs. Little lived longer than Mr. Little, and I can picture them, but I was too young to really be friends. But my mom and dad were, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And when you picture them, what do you see?
Tall, kind of elegant people.
Mm-hmm. Were they city people?
I think, they were. They were big city people.
Do you know where they came from?
I want to say New York, but I'm not sure if that's right, so I'm not sure.
And were they the ones that settled Fayette?
As far as I know, yes, they built it up and made it what it turned out to be.
And besides the post office, what other major sources of business kept this town going?
Well, in the earlier years, they sold machinery and all kinds of appliances and things. And that building over there was Land Abstract Building or something like that it was called. I never was in that one. But in fact, from a distance, I saw it sitting there, and I thought it was the house that some of the people lived in. Until last year when I got here, well, no, that's not the house.
And what about the building that's back there?
That's the house where the people that lived here and farmed the land lived
Okay.
in. And it was also a hotel in earlier years.
Oh, and how much business did they get?
Well, there was a lot of traffic through here, hauling grain to Killdeer, wherever, or mail routes and different things. There was a lot of overnight traffic through here in those earlier years.
And what was the name of it?
Oh, it was all Fayette.
Oh, it was all Fayette.
Yeah.
The town. What about the hotel name?
it was owned by the same people that had the store
Okay.
and stuff. So I don't think it really had a name. It was just,
So how would they bring in the mail?
from when I remember, it was hauled by vehicle, but I'm not sure if how they hauled it from before. I can remember.
Was it by stage or something?
I don't remember that there was really a stage going through here, but I'm sure it was wagon and horses, whatever.
Eleanor, what is the building behind us?
That is the house where the Littles lived. And the lady, Anna Fisher, that they had working for them, lived there with them. It was a nice big house. I loved it.
And what did it look like inside from your memories?
Oh, it was really nice. I don't, it's been quite a long time ago. But I came over and helped Anna Fisher clean many times. And it seemed so big compared to what our house was, you know. And now when I look at it, it's not as big as I thought it was. But I think some part of it was wooden, and that's not here anymore. So that's one reason it looks a lot smaller than it was. But they had running water in it, which was something quite rare.
And how did they manage the running water? How did they get it to work up here?
I'm not sure. I know they had a cistern, and back then didn't look into as to how it was brought in, but I'm sure there was some kind of a pump or something. And they used to have a big garden to the west of the house, and we're watering it from that.
Did you help water?
No, I never had much to do with the garden.
You just clean the inside then?
Yeah, usually spring cleaning or something like that. She would come in. And that wasn't when Mr. and Mrs. Little were here either. It was later when just Anna Fisher was here, and she was running the store. And so...
Was it also a post office?
Store and post office were, yeah.
And how long was that post office in service, do you remember?
I would say till early 70s, I'm thinking.
And how long did Anna Fisher stay here?
Right about that time, I think, in the when the post office closed and stuff, she lived in Dickinson. I'm not sure where, but she lived in Dickinson then after that.
Do you know how old she was? When you were working with her, how old was she then?
Oh, she must have been, you know how it is when you're young, everybody looks old, but I would say she might have been 50s.
Okay. And who else was still living here when Anna was here in Fayette?
Well, Wendell and Pauline Russell lived here. There was another family here before Wendell and Pauline. I can't say the name right now. But Wendell and Pauline, and they had 2 children. And then they bought a farm west here and moved. And then Tony and Clementine Hartman lived here. And I think they were the last people to live in that house. And I spent a lot of time there babysitting and helping her too.
And what did the outside of the house look like at that point?
Well, I guess pretty much like it is now, but there was some wooden addition on it. And I can't even tell you for sure. I think it was to the west or something. But it had a wooden roof on it.
So was this a sod structure at all at any point? A sod building?
No, this wasn't. This was rocks.
This was rock.
The post office and store was sod, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where did they get the rocks? Just from the area?
The hills around here. Yeah.
And there's a little building back there. What was that used for? The little stone structure with the...
I think it was the smokehouse.
The smokehouse, okay. Was that always in use then?
See, that I never got into that much either, it wasn't my department.
Well,
But
what,
someone last year was saying something different about that. They didn't quite agree with me that that was a smokehouse, but I remember Anna always talking about the smokehouse. And the way it looks, you know, it was used as a smokehouse.
now, the town sits on a bluff here. Does this have a specific name, or?
No,
And
not
the
that I
river
know of.
just below. What is the name of the river?
I think that's a knife river.
The Knife River.
Yeah. No, the thing I ever knew, it was Fayette. That's the way it was.
And anything stand out about your visits to town? Anything exciting happen?
I didn't, like when Mom and Dad came, we usually didn't come along. They came alone, and the only time I really spent much time here was with helping Anna, and we cleaned the store and post office too. But
Do you remember what the inside of the post office used to look like?
yes, I do. You know how they show those old post offices with the windows, you know, with the shelves and stuff around. Yeah, that's the way it was. And then the little boxes where the mail was in.
Were you sent to town to pick up mail at all?
No, it was delivered to out in the country.
Okay. And who was it that usually delivered the mail?
Wendell and Pauline Russell,
Okay.
for the most part. There was someone else that did it earlier, but then they did. I think they still did it when I left this area.
Now, Eleanor, you mentioned the chicken coop here. Can you describe that a little more for us?
Oh, it had nice big windows, and there was a fence around it, and the chickens were always in there. And it seems like every place did have chickens back then. So you know, it didn't seem that different to me. It was just like home. We had chickens.
It's a pretty big structure for a chicken house.
Yeah, it is, and you know, not very many chicken houses had the nice big windows and stuff like this had.
Stone structure.
Yeah.
Too. Do you remember anything? What did the outside of the chicken coop used to look like? Did it look similar to this at any point?
Yeah, pretty much like it is now.
Pretty
Yeah.
much like that.
Yeah, pretty much like it is now.
Is this where you would come up and sell the chicken eggs that you had at the farm?
Yeah. Yeah, they would take care of them in the store. You know, they candled them. You know, they do that, and the cream too. And then they would test it and for butterfat.
Okay.
And then they would, from here, I think they'd haul it to Manning and ship it out.
Okay. And there's another structure behind us. Looks like a barn. What is that?
That was a shed where they had a well, and I think that structure was over kind of for protection from the weather and stuff. And there was always, it seems to me that it was like a spring or something. There was always water running there.
Do you know how they got the water? They just find an underground spring there?
I'm not sure, because that was there from when I can remember. You know, it was there, so I have no idea just how it was.
Okay. And then there are a couple of metal structures behind us over here. Were those here when Fayette was a town?
I don't think so. I think there were probably steel bins. Somebody moved in here and looks like they got damaged by wind or whatever. But I have no memory of them being here back when I was around here.
Okay. Well, let's take a small walk this way. You can kind of tell us what was up here on these hills.
Well, it was the store and the post office. And
can you tell us where?
Well, I didn't remember that there was a cellar under it, but they're telling me there was a cellar under there. And there's junk dumped in there now, but the post office was on this end, as I remember it, and the rest of it was the store, and then there was a wooden shed built onto it where they stored some stuff in and whatever.
And when did that kind of fall? When did the post office and store go?
Well, I don't know, because I didn't get right here, and you know, and I guess I'm sure after Annie Fisher left here, like in the 70s, if I'm even right at that, it deteriorates fast when it isn't kept up.
Let's walk a little bit more here. And there's bare land out here. Was there ever anything in this space?
Well, the store went down here further.
Oh, it was a big store then?
Yeah, it came down here further.
Okay.
I would say pretty close to the end of that piece of machinery there.
Okay.
But that, as far as I know, had no connection with the store,
Okay.
It was just put there.
And this structure you said earlier was the house?
Yes. Yeah, this was the house.
And what did it look like?
It was quite tall, and it was longer to, north and south. I thought it was a lot bigger than that.
Was it always a log structure?
Yeah, and it was tall and it had upstairs. That's where the rooming was, for the
Hotel?
yeah.
How many rooms did they have?
It wasn't many. I would say maybe 4.
Okay. And do you remember what kind of travelers would stop in and stay?
That wasn't going on anymore from my memory.
Okay.
And there was nobody staying here that I knew of, except the people that lived here then.
Did anybody in your family ever talk about what it used to be like?
Yes, my dad talked a lot about things like that, and wished I'd have wrote it down or had him whatever, because I guess you just think he'll be here forever and talk about these things, and it didn't go that way.
Are there any that you do remember from this?
Not really. Not from here, but from different things, things that went on among people they knew and stuff like that,
Okay. Okay.
But there was a big root cellar down below here too.
Oh, they did?
And that's caved in too. I checked it out last year.
And how big was that root cellar?
I don't know. I thought it was really big compared to what we had. And it's caved in. You can't tell how big it was.
Anything else you want to add about the family or the structure behind us? What do you remember about the people that did live here?
Well, I just remember what they looked like. And of course, Anna Fisher, I knew her real well because she was here when I was growing up. But I just always thought they were kind of nice, tall, elegant people.
Mm-hmm. Same as the Littles, in a way?
Oh, you mean the ones that lived in the house
in this
here?
house here.
Well, they were friends of my parents, and oh yeah, I remember them, all of them, real well. Yeah, they were my parents' friends. They were just like we were.
All right, Eleanor, what do you remember about the couple that lived here? What did they look like?
Well, the lady always reminded me very much of my mom because she was kind of heavy and, very, very motherly. We liked them very well. And, we were taught all our parents' friends were uncles and aunts to us, and I think it was really a nice way of paying respect to the people. Where now we're really lacking that.
Did you ever stay here in town with them?
Well, no, not with the first people that lived here that I knew well, but with the next people I would come and stay, a couple days and help out, or come babysit and spend the night.
How many kids did you say they had?
3.
3. And what were their names?
Clemens, Connie. Oh, what was the other one? He used to live around Kildare. I think he still is. Jeez. I can't see the other one's name. If he ever sees this, he'll be mad at me. Clemens has died. He was quite a bit younger than I am. Eugene.
Eugene.
Yes.
So Clements, Connie, and Eugene.
Yes.
And what were their ages when you used to babysit them?
Well, they were little kids, like 3, 4, on up to when they got to be old enough that they didn't need to be babysat anymore.
And what kinds of things would you do when you'd go over there?
Well, try to entertain them and feed them and whatever needed, whatever needed to be done at the time.
What did you ever play any games outside or inside that you can remember?
I don't remember that we did, but we must have done something to pass the time.
What about the food you used to make for them while you were watching them?
Well, most of the time when it was mealtime, their mom would be there, or a lot of times they'd go somewhere for the evening and they already were fed.
Okay. There is a building behind us, Eleanor. What was this building?
It was a land office building that I really never got in there. I think maybe around the time when I did things around here, it wasn't busy anymore, but I know in earlier years it was a very busy place. But I don't know much about that because I never was inside it, never.
Did it still look just about like this from what you can remember?
Well, it was in much better shape than it is. Yeah, but it was what it was like.
Was it ever painted?
Yes, it was.
What
Yeah.
color do you remember?
I'm thinking it was white,
Okay.
or maybe gray. Maybe it might have been gray.
And were there ever any landscape or trees out here?
No,
just like
not that I
this?
remember. It was just pretty much the way it was.
Just the way it was.
But I'm just remembering over in that area where the chicken coop is, it was probably further this way yet toward the store, there was a bunkhouse where they had hired men that lived in it. And I remember we cleaned that up one time because they had some guys coming.
And what was that like, cleaning up the bunkhouse?
Well, it was a wooden building with newspapers and stuff hung on, pasted on the walls, I guess, and no fancy beds in it. But it was kind of neat.
Yeah. What did it look like inside? Can you remember? Besides the newspaper on the walls?
Well, there wasn't much else besides that.
Yeah, just the beds.
It seems to me there was something like a trunk in there too, but I really couldn't describe it because I wasn't in there very often.
Was there a wash house or an outhouse here in town? Can you remember?
There was not a wash house. You're meaning where they went to do baths and stuff?
Yeah.
No, there was nothing like that. But there was an outhouse, I think, just down here a ways.
Okay.
There was an outhouse.
Was it the town outhouse or was it the
Well, it was
family
every-
outhouse?
Family, whoever.
Okay. Okay. Eleanor, we're standing in front of the cliff here, and there's a bridge behind us. What does that bridge tell us about the road that came here to town?
Well, the road that came through town, you went up over the hill and down over that bridge. That's the way you had to go to Manning. And then you can kind of see along there where the road went. Even over there further, you can see where it went, and it joined that road that's coming west from Manning.
Was it a good road?
Well, as good as roads were back then, mostly a mud, whatever.
And would you take trips to Manning very often?
Not just to Manning, but if you were going to Dickinson or whatever, or Mom and Dad would go to Manning, do business and things like that, which us kids never got to go along.
So when was the first time you were able to go to town?
Well, I guess we did get to go once in a while all along to where, I don't remember a first time really, but it wasn't a normal thing that if they went, we went.
And did you ever walk out here along the road, or
Not down there,
not down there?
but from home where I grew up, we walked here to Fayette a lot of times.
So this is the town you had to go through from home to get to Manning.
Right,
Okay.
that's right.
And has this landscape changed?
Well, I never really got over this way so much, but no, I would say it has not changed because the river is down there, and there isn't much they can change.
What did it look like? Let's talk about the different seasons here, and what did it look like in the winter?
Well, many times in the wintertime you didn't drive anywhere because all the roads were blocked. I remember seeing many times where they would drive through fields and whatnot to get wherever they needed to go. But I think there was 6 weeks to 3 months, many winters that we didn't go anywhere with a vehicle. People that rode horseback or sled and horses, whatever.
Did you do that pretty often?
We didn't that much. But you'd see people go by.
What about during the springtime? What did it look like around here?
Well, it took a while for the snow to melt, and then things green up, and everybody goes do their farm work and things like that. And
Did you come here to Fayette during that time?
well, yeah. Yeah, I think Dad walked here quite often in the wintertime when we needed things and whatever.
And what did a typical summer look like here in town? How was that different than say the winter time?
Well, there was more traffic through here and things like that. And in the wintertime, back then we didn't have barns like you do now. Nobody milked cows really that they were buying cream or anything like that. And chickens, pretty much, people used up the eggs that they did get and so on. So I think there was a lot less traffic here in the wintertime than there would have been in the summertime.
And how would you describe the traffic that came to Fayette?
Model A's or Model T's or whatever. Old vehicles. Well, they were new then, I guess, but to us they're old now.
And did your family have a Model A or a Model T?
Well, my grandpa had a Model T, and for many years we all used that same vehicle. But then later on, my dad bought it. I think that was a Model A, and we used that for a long time.
You used it on the road behind us?
Yes.
And how long would a trip take from, let's say, here in Fayette to Manning in a Model T?
Well, I don't know. Time didn't mean much to me back then, I guess, but I don't know if they got to drive, if they went much more than 20, 30 miles an hour, so
And
it could have took a while.
And was the main road back there even in existence then?
That we came
The
on?
gravel road?
No, that wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember just how. That one going west wasn't that way. I just don't remember. I don't remember exactly how it was, but this road led directly to Manning, as far the way I remember it.
And what? We'll end with the autumn months. What did it look like here in the autumn?
Oh, there were always choke cherries and bullberries and things on the trees that, it changed. The seasons changed like they do now. But then I do remember that road that we came down here on, that went west and then it went south from there. But then, there was no connection in between. It was different than it is now.
But that was still part of the road that came through Fayette?
Yeah.
Up through the hills?
Yeah, you came down through the hills this way and then went up that way, I think, and it went south. I don't know if there was that connection over here. I just don't remember.
Okay.
You just see it all the time and then, oh, how was it?
Is there anything that you miss about Fayette?
Well, I do think about it and different things that went on and whatever. And, well, no, you get away from it and you finally don't miss it anymore. But yeah, I do miss the neighbors we had, all the camaraderie that was years ago that isn't now. Neighbors always visited each other a lot and played cards and whatnot, where that just doesn't go on like that anymore.
Do you have a favorite memory about it that you would like to share?
Well, not any particular one, I guess. It's just, I do remember all the different people, coming in. Mom and Dad would go to their houses and stuff. And it was always we didn't get to go much. It was always so nice to see someone come, see different people and whatever.
Well, any other thoughts or stories about this area that you would like to share with us?
can't think of anything right now, you know.
What do you think about the fact that Fayette is considered a ghost town now?
Well, it's too bad, but you know, those things just happen, you know. I hadn't been through here for many years, and then I had my brother and I came over here one time, and the barn was gone, and I was kind of sorry that I came. I wanted to remember it as it was, you know. But yeah, it was nice when it was busy and, you know, and being kept up and stuff. And I remember that tree being on the south side of that house.
So that's the same tree that was here
Yeah, it is.
many years ago.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is it nice
And
to see some familiarities?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is.